Thanks, Glenn. It was, we need to capture these stories, don't we? It's remarkable as we celebrate this 50th year and to capture stories and insights by those who came before us. And Glenn, thank you for some of that, some smiles and some very serious decisions that went along the way during your tenure. I brought with me, I'm going to have a chance now to briefly introduce Don, but I have with me a book that I really enjoy referring to, and I think when I think about Don Lubbers, I think that he had also read this book, The Idea of a University by Cardinal Newman. And it's a treatise on, just as it says, the idea of a university. And if you look at this, the construct, I think, is in terms of liberal education, the liberal arts, and how then those can transition into the professions. And they do intertwine with one another in a very interdisciplinary way. But one of the things that comes out of this, I think, is that the idea of a university has to be entrepreneurial. It has to be innovative. It has to look ahead, but being founded on a very stable platform from the past. And again, I brought this to reflect on Don's leadership as I have grown to appreciate over my last 4+ years here at Grand Valley State University. I want to read one piece and then go from there with a couple of anecdotes and for Don. I'm asked, what is the end of university education? And of the liberal or philosophical knowledge which I conceive it to impart. I answer that what I have already said has been sufficient to show that it is very tangible, real, and sufficient end, though the end cannot be divided from knowledge itself. Knowledge is capable of being its own end. So, what does this have to do with this institution? I think that's the essence of Grand Valley State University. We are trying to position our students with the knowledge for them to be successful. And the liberal education construct provides us a foundation, probably more important now than ever. Probably more important now than ever. But we have had in our history a college, then university president for 32 years who embraced that notion. He was the right fit for the right times here at Grand Valley State University. And I think very much an entrepreneurial president. It was a great fit as this institution grew through his leadership and during his times. I met Don back in 1992, came here to Grand Valley. Very briefly, I was working at Western as an American Council on Education Fellow. And that time, the president there said, I need to get out and about to visit some other campuses. I went to U of M and I went to some others, and he definitely said, go up to Grand Valley. And I did, and I was able to see Grand Valley with a very, very quick walk-by, so to speak, and then met Don a few months after that when there was that retreat that Dieter Henneke put together. But at that point in time, I could immediately note of Don's passion for Grand Valley, his sense of competition, so to speak, as well. And does anyone know if Don's competitive or not? I don't know. What do you think? I do know that there was a red phone in the president's box going down to Brian Kelly. Yeah, and ever play golf with Don? If you're playing for 200, that's 200 pennies. The competitive spirit comes out. And it's just remarkable to see that. But it really is in the nature of Don to be competitive, to be passionate about Grand Valley State University, and being entrepreneurial and positioning the university for a better future. One last quick story. Marcia and I were here the morning before I was named as president, and we had breakfast with Don and Nancy. Great team, no doubt about it. And we had this breakfast, coffee and all. And I said, I've learned a lot about Grand Valley State University, and I think, the watchwords I want to take us to use as our compass points are the notion of stewardship, service, and relevance. And immediately, Don looked and smiled. He said, I can feel the new consciousness of Grand Valley State University coming through, and I look forward to that bright future. Well, I'm here to tell you that Don, through the 4.5 years that we've been here, has been a great friend and a great mentor. He and Nancy have been wonderful for Marcia and me. Don Lubbers, supported by Nancy, is and always will be Grand Valley State University. Don Lubbers, please.
Thank you. Thank you for the fine context, Tom, that your remarks make for my remarks. I wasn't aware that Dieter sent you up here as a spy, but look what happened. You got co-opted. And as for presidential telephones to the head coach, look where Brian Kelly is now. It was enjoyable to hear Glenn go over the times before us and during some of our time together. My remarks will cover some of the same situations, but I think in a bit different context. My remarks cannot be described as history. I have not gathered objective evidence to support what I'm going to say. I just share with you perceptions, memories, and analyses. There are 3 characteristics about the establishment of Grand Valley that have contributed to its nature and ethos. In combination, they created a unique institution. First, the Grand Rapids area was the most populous area in Michigan without indigenous state-supported education. The community college was controlled by the local school system, and other state universities were here with programs fluctuating according to their current budgets and interests. The area had good private, church-related colleges closely tied to their ethnic and religious origins, and also good proprietary education. Bill Seidman analyzed the situation and decided the people of West Michigan deserved the opportunities in higher education their taxes could provide, and the benefits that come from having their own institution. His idea prevailed and Grand Valley State College was founded. It came late for the population center where it was located. It is analogous to an unexpected child born to 45-year-old parents after the other kids have reached adulthood. What conditions did this time of birth provide the newcomer in the family of Michigan higher education? First, it allowed for a curriculum plan significantly different from the plans that launched other Michigan State institutions at an earlier time. Second, it was born into an unusual educational vacuum, offering it opportunities for initiating programs unavailable to the population previously. 3, it had an opportunity to find more efficient ways and less costly ways to run a college and later a university, making it able to direct resources to top priorities more easily than it was for established institutions. What does that say? Bureaucracy wasn't so bad there, and it never has been as bad here as it has been other places. These were not only conditions, but advantages, and not fully understood or recognized at the outset. Just as the infant does not comprehend what will happen in life, so the new college did not know how profoundly these conditions would affect its future. No matter what initial goals were defined, and some were achieved, the Grand Valley process toward self-fulfillment and self-recognition owes more to the inductive process than the deductive. Bill Seidman attended Dartmouth, and he was aware of Hope's and Calvin's success at preparing students for graduate education. The natural outcome for Bill and his associates was to offer high-quality, state-sponsored liberal arts education. Through stops and starts, twists and turns, their objective has been reached, and they have succeeded to a remarkable degree, if not according to the original blueprint. The foundation in the liberal arts affects the definition of quality of an undergraduate education. As professional and undergraduate programs develop, it is more likely to leave the commitment to the undergraduate education undiminished. That is what happened at Grand Valley, and is not likely to have happened had a four-year institution evolved from the local junior college or began as a state normal college, most of whom came to see themselves in the image of the first and leading university. The intense commitment to the liberal arts is the second distinguishing characteristic. For Bill Seidman and his committee to succeed in establishing a new liberal arts college, they needed political support. For that, the people of West Michigan were mobilized. That the University of Michigan and Michigan State were organizing branches at that time in the East, in Dearborn, Flint, and Oakland County, may have contributed to the momentum and the movement to bring state-supported higher education to the West. Grand Rapids, even then, was considered a prize, as demonstrated by the programs state universities bestowed upon it. With the citizens' interest for something more indigenous, both of the behemoths of higher education were ready to respond. Mostly, each did not want the other to have a branch here, and therefore agreed reluctantly to allow an independent college. That standoff and the involvement of the West Michigan community in raising $1 million required by the legislature for its approval of the project allowed Seidman to move forward. I doubt if any other university had the extent of community involvement in its founding. The dynamic relationship between community and college contributed to the nature and the ethos. Grand Valley was fortunate to be in maturation when economic entrepreneurs created great wealth in West Michigan, and many helped us with buildings and programs. Likewise, the coffers of the state were often full, and our appropriations reflected it. In West Michigan, the university lives within the community, nourishing it with engineering, health professions, business education, social workers, teacher training, and more, and takes nourishment from it. Cooperation, not confrontation, is the norm. There is no ivory tower. The joining of community and college is the third characteristic present at the founding. I am not sure to what degree the three existing characteristics of the founding influenced the events and happenings that shaped Grand Valley during my administration, yet I think they are important. I turn now to those happenings and events. Early in my tenure, a group who held the license for public television came to me because they could not secure money for it and asked if Grand Valley would like to hold the license. I have never said yes faster. Then I told Jerry Ford that his district had the largest population without public television in the U.S. We needed $500,000 from the federal government, $500,000 in private support, and $300,000 a year from the legislature for operations. Within 3 months, Representative Ford did his part. We raised private money from local sources, and the legislature put $300,000 on the appropriations bill. Grand Valley brought public television to the region, and ever since has reaped the benefits that public broadcasting focuses on its purveyor. And I never figured out why Western didn't do it. The initial Seidman Dream plan was to have units or schools, as Glenn had referred to. It did not work out that way, but separate colleges were established, as he mentioned. The 1960s and 1970s were times of experimentation with structure and curriculum throughout the United States, and we were cutting edge. In the end, this did not work for us, as has been explained. We created more intense competition among colleges within Grand Valley than we did with outside competitors. Some curricular and process experimentation and unwise faculty appointments eroded from within and created bad impressions in the community on whom we depended. The scarcity of resources in an economic recession opened the way for ending the experiment after a decade of trying. Did the experiment have a redeeming aspect? I believe it did. At a time, many bright students were turned off by traditional college education, and they found a place in one of our experimental colleges. Until the 1960s and 70s revolution was over, more graduates from Thomas Jefferson College enrolled in postgraduate education than from our largest, more traditional college. Older adults were looking for a way to begin or resume their quest for a college degree, and William James made special accommodations to them. They came and appreciated it. The years 1978, 1982 were formative. They brought an end to the experiment, the restructuring of the university, and the return to growth in the enrollment. The forces that converged in that time might be referred to as a perfect storm. In 1978, the day before fall term began, we received word that the Fieldhouse dome was unsafe. We closed the Fieldhouse immediately and were without recreational facilities until 1982. A severe economic recession hit Michigan. Our appropriations were slashed to the point of financial exigency. Colleges had to be closed, faculty released. Others merged into the new structure. You can imagine the forces unleashed. One was a move by some faculty to vote no confidence in the president. Glenn Niemeyer, Ron Van Steelen, and Rod Mulder, the chair of the faculty, all of whom I believe could have supported the move and survive it, did not. The trustees also supported me, so I remained in office. Instead of a 10-year term, the way was open to a 32-and-a-half-year presidency. In response to inquiries and requests from public educators in our region, a task force was appointed to design a graduate program in education. When the task force work was complete, they brought it to the Faculty Senate for approval. There is no surprise when a faculty committed to liberal arts and undergraduate education rejects a graduate curriculum in the field of education. As president, I did not interfere in curriculum matters within departments and divisions. I did feel compelled to have my say in proposing and considering new programs. I asked the board to accept and approve the task force report rejecting the Senate's position. They did, knowing my resignation would be in their hands if they didn't. Thus, graduate education came to Grand Valley. The precedent was set. Those faculty who didn't agree thought me untrustworthy when espousing the liberal arts. For me, it was not an either-or, but both. Resistance to professional programs came with each attempt to start them. Nursing from the State Board of Education staff, law from the governor's office, graduate degree in business from other universities, engineering from the Michigan President's Council. There were no more serious battles within as faculty leaders committed to the liberal arts core saw their beliefs respected and protected, and also saw how people seeking professional education in the region were served. Law was our only failure. We tried twice. While we and 2 other universities were being torpedoed, we quietly initiated graduate education and business. The opponents were confronted with a fait accompli. What has become Seidman College was on its way. In a meeting of the President's Council, our insistence on launching an engineering school was debated. For me, it was a Kafkaesque experience as I listened to Grand Valley and me being pummeled. Finally, the president of Michigan State said to me, "Don, are you going to start an engineering school no matter how we vote?" I said, "Yes." And he responded, "Let's stop this discussion and move on." That did not satisfy all who wanted to do something. I finally suggested that they send a letter to the Grand Valley Board censuring me. I believe that is what they did. The decision to make Grand Valley a multi-campus university was pivotal. The Michigan Senate Appropriations Committee declared no funding for universities off their campuses. So our board claimed Ottawa, Kent, and Muskegon counties as our campus, passed a resolution. In the 1970s, our administrative team began planning for a Grand Rapids campus. The traumas of 1978 to 1982 kept that plan in the can. Once we had a new field house, we opened the can. Community leaders and trustees not only supported but guided us. Jim Sebastian and Rich DeVos helped us settle on a location. Those two, along with Bob Pugh, demonstrated again how leaders in the community shared the vision. Similar commitments in Muskegon and by leaders in Grand Haven and Holland have validated the long-distant claim of a 3-county campus. I conclude with an analysis of 2 factors during my time in our university's development that I believe contributed to what Grand Valley is. One is personal, and the other very personal. So I cannot claim objectivity I cannot claim objectivity that I would like in making them. I had a long presidency, but not so long as Glenn Niemeyer and Ron Van Steelen served the university. We probably were together as provost, vice president, and CFO and president longer than any other such team in higher education, certainly in the modern period. Art Hills, as my assistant, was a valuable member in our earlier days, and Jean Enright joined us and made herself indispensable in the final years. She used to explain to participants or visitors to our meetings that they may not follow everything because we could anticipate one another and spoke in shorthand. I have to believe that such a long, cordial, but by no means sweet administrative and personal relationship gave stability to the institution. Finally, my long tenure had to be a stabilizing factor for a new university, but there is more. I asked Nancy to join me to make the presidency of Grand Valley work. From past observation and experience, I knew a team approach works best. She agreed to give up her career and join mine. As a team, neither of us thought of Grand Valley as a stepping stone. We did not look for another position, and when we were sought, we were not persuaded. In time, we could not see ourselves apart from Grand Valley. We were intertwined. Such emotional involvement is often criticized and thought to be unwise. Whatever the verdict, the fact of it adds a shade of color to the university that is not there if the commitment is not. Wherever you worked in this vineyard called Grand Valley, you have memories of events that shaped it, issues that were important to you. These are the ones important to me. I know they don't tell the whole story, but they tell a story. Thank you.